carefully, my friend. Killing will not bring you peace.
Peace was never an option.
The X-Men films seem to have a special place in all of superhero culture, which it has now become. And with the arrival of X-Men First Class, we have a superhero movie that may actually have a point of existing. But the excitement for X-Men First Class actually comes from the fact that this is an X-Men film, this is a superhero origins film at heart. It's an origins film at heart, actually, that actually has a point of existing and expanding on a story which we haven't had all the details filled in yet. But then Wolverine does the exact same thing, so what is lacking? Well, from Wolverine there was no point to it. With X-Men First Class there seems to be at least a hint of expansion. This of course is the story of a younger generation of the X-Men, and this is them forming to become the X-Men. By the end of the film we have what we know as the X-Men. But it all starts off very simply when Magneto, Professor X, Raven, who's Mystique, you have Cyclops, you have Beast, you have Woman with flying, and they all form through different subplots to come together to take down Sebastian Shaw, who basically wants to start World War III. In some respects, X-Men First Class is a bit different and a bit more original for a summer movie, seeming that the conventions of a summer movie now are bloated action films, dull comedies, and superhero films. In most respects, this is more different just for a superhero film that comes out in summer. Remember Kick-Ass by the exact same people who made this? Not a summer film, just a plain damn good superhero film. For a summer movie, it's based on more stories and character rather than just big woohoo, I'm Michael Bay and I know how to use Avatar 3D cameras. Second of all, nothing to do with the Avengers. Love that. Didn't like Thor, thought it was rubbish. And 3, no 3D. Unlike Thor. In the first half of the movie, it's the best part. We get personal touches by Matthew Vaughn as the director, more kick-ass than Stardust, shall we say. And for the most part, we get answers to questions which have never been answered, and new topics which we've never seen in any X-Men film. And at the same time, this is bringing up certain topics in the X-Men universe which are expanded in later films. Like there is this idea that even though these mutants, in this film particularly, that even though the mutants do good, they're still seen as rejects, they're still seen as weird, ugly, deformed, just not plain right. These are people, humans still, who are seen as second-class citizens, basically. And of course, this has always been a superhero film that has always been basically embedded in reality, almost. And for the most part, it answers a lot of questions which we have not been answered, and has new, shall we say, relationships started. But the film, going on over 2 hours, spends far too long explaining questions which do not need answering. Why is Cerebro called Cerebro? Cerebro stands for brain in Spanish. Thank you. Why is Mystique called Mystique? Why is Professor X called Professor X? Why is Magneto called Magneto? Of course there is interest in knowing why these people have these sidekick names, but it's just done in an unoriginal manner. I think that's my problem when it comes from one really, really original 2 films in the X-Men series, and then a really, really original superhero film from Jade Goldman and Matthew Vaughn. Here was my biggest fear when going into X-Men First Class. It could get easily convoluted. This is a film which has a backlog of other stories which have been just expanded on, basically, so it's hardly original in a writing terms. But the way it incorporates history and past events makes the film bogged down, I think. And of course there's already been superhero films where it's been notably and noticed and criticized for being convoluted. Iron Man 2, Spider-Man 3. But there are elements to this film, even for a superhero film, even in the X-Men universe, that I found too far to stretch my mind that this was even happening. So in short, the film is not indecipherable. It's an easy film to follow if you just take it as a simple "I'm going after the bad guy." But if you're looking at the history of it, and you're looking at how this pinpoints to X-Men #1, it's really hard to follow at times. This X-Men, though, is tonally completely different from the other X-Men films. In actual fact, this is more suited to the X-Men cartoons, I think. And I think this is a more childish and cartoonish version for setting it up for the X-Men series. Maybe that's because the entire cast is far younger, and it's a new generation of X-Men films, so in some ways that's admirable, and I can understand that. doesn't mean I particularly like it. A film that's had a backlog on drama and characters, hardly human emotion, but drama and characters nonetheless. And this is a film that was kind of lacking for me in everything called character, everything that was a personal touch from the first films. So you get rid of the drama in some respects, and you get rid of the almost sophisticated humour which mostly came from Wolverine's part, and now you're getting really sort of childish humour from the film. So in short, the Kick-Ass team have moved on from making a superhero film about kids to a superhero film more aimed at kids. There was more to the original X-Men's rather than this. This one for me just feels like a filler. But I can say this about X-Men, for the first half of the film, before it just becomes fairly ordinary, I think that's the right word, it is interesting, it is thrilling, and there is that personal touch that you got from mostly every superhero film, no matter how bad. Thor in particular has a personal touch from its director. And if there's one thing you can actually say about X-Men First Class, is it's never boring. No matter how many flaws there is with the film, it never becomes dull. Unlike Thor.